morning, everyone. I'm Katie Romero. I'm the founder and CEO of Babs Labs. We're a marketing and communications agency for businesses in Web3. So I'm going to welcome my panel today. First, we have Nicolette Vilnius. I'm going to take a seat with all of you. Gigi, I'll just have the whole panel come up and then do a little presentation. Ooh, it's quite bright. Feels very official. Okay, morning. So first we have Raquel Castro. She's the Marketing and Communications Director for Triple O Games out of Spain. Gigi, well, I just call her Gigi. She's a serial or career CMO, and she is currently the CMO for GameDAO. Firdosh, who's the founder and CEO of Drive, which is a decentralized drive sharing platform. Leland again just goes by Leland. She's an OG in the gaming space and the strategic advisor for Decentraland and Decentral Games. And then Nicolette, who is the founder and digital marketing advisor. So thanks, guys. Good morning. I'm going to let each of you do a little bit of a presentation and talk a little bit about what you do exactly. Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I predominantly do digital advertising and digital marketing for blockchain and Web3 products. So I work quite a lot with Babs Labs, which was co-founded by Katie. So we're working on projects together. And I've also founded my own digital advertising agency, focusing on everything from paid media to PR to community growth here in Dubai, specifically for, as I've mentioned, blockchain and Web3 products.
Thank you. Leland?
Yes, I'm part of the founding team of Decentraland and Decentral Games. Decentraland is the world's first decentralized metaverse, and Decentral Games is a gaming platform that built on Ethereum blockchain.
Great. Firdosh?
Hi, my name is Firdosh. I'm co-founder and CEO of Drive. Drive is world's first decentralized ride-sharing platform. It's basically like Uber on blockchain. We are among very few blockchain implementation in the real world. We are live in India.
Great. Gigi?
Can you hear me? Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
So I entered Web3 2 years ago. I worked for a VC and I worked with so many startups. And they basically all need someone to bootstrap marketing efforts. They have the technological experience and they have the idea, but they're missing the connection to really bridge that gap into a story. So that's why I accepted a service, let's say a CMO as a service, to bootstrap all marketing efforts in 6 to 9 months, hire the team, set up the strategy to bootstrap them into the next stage of their startup phase. And I'm doing that now for a gaming company, which is exciting. So
Fantastic. Thanks. And Raquel?
I do basically the same as Gigi, but for my company, Triple O Games. We are a new gaming company in the Canary Island in Spain. And I basically do all this strategy for our first game, Battle Derby, and for the ones that are coming. And also we work with Babs Labs for all the PR for the game, and that's all.
Thank you, ladies, for being here today. So our panel is basically about the importance of that a product in Web3 isn't a product, or a project rather, it's more about building a business. So the first question I want to ask all of you is, what is the most important thing about kind of starting a project or a business in Web3? Where do you guys start strategically to think about how this is going to be long-term, how it's going to withstand the market? What are your first thoughts on that? Anyone that wants to take it, go ahead.
I can take this.
Okay.
I think one of the very important factors is that your product or service solves an existing challenge or problem within the market. So, you're not just building something for the sake of tokenizing and just kind of this get rich quick scheme, you're actually solving a problem that you're seeing in the market and people can identify themselves with. So for an example, I'm working with one of the first omni-chain decentralized exchanges which have seen the challenge of interoperability and how fees were very, very high when it came to swaps, how liquidity pools are working with order books rather than continuous liquidity weren't very efficient. So all these technical aspects that the whole industry itself is challenged with, they work very hard on solving those problems. And another thing they did really well is that instead of just building the product in silo, they are a real DAO. So they fully tap into the community and what they need and what they want to see in the product, and that they take all their advice and suggestions on board. They find developers from their community, so the whole community can build the product with them. So obviously it creates a much higher brand affinity, longer brand loyalty, and it definitely ensures that they're creating a product for the longer term, something that people need, or something that the community really does buy into.
Fantastic.
I think it relates beautiful to something we discussed earlier, that when every time I think all of us would enter a company, we would decide to, let's say, spend 95% of our time in the beginning to define the problem and then go into what are we offering for the community, for our users. And the other 5% will be the solution, how are we going to bring that to the market. And on top of that, I feel oftentimes it's also our job to think about, and what is a revenue model? Because so many ideas can be like, oh, it's a great project, I have an idea, but what is a revenue model, and how can we also, whilst making revenue, bring that to a community and bring value? So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I guess there's one more problem in the Web3 space that I've seen. A lot of people start building on top of hype. And, last year people were building NFT project. Then this year people are building metaverse project. We look for a solution and then try to find a problem statement for it. And I guess there are a lot of real world problems that exist for which Web3 has a solution. A lot of pressing problems that we see in the real world that exist. Web3 can solve that. And it's very important that you look for a problem statement first and then try to find out how Web3 can solve that, because Web3 in itself has so much potential to disrupt what already exists. We all know about, decentralized social media or decentralized Uber, like what we are doing. Just don't go with the hype, and then you are really building a product and not just, another project which will die after the hype is gone.
Yes. Thank you. Leland?
Yeah, I think the panel has covered quite a lot. I think ultimately, yes, it's the market fit, whether we are solving an issue, a problem. And a lot of times, well, it may not be always the low-hanging fruits. It could be a challenge that your team or as a founder decided to take up. Just in the case of Decentraland, we didn't expect that it would take off, but circumstances change, the external environment, the macro change, pandemic hits, and then the user behaviors change. And that turned out to be favorable to our proposition. Yeah.
Do you guys think that when you're looking at kind of product market fit, do you think that there's more of an emphasis that should be put on the product versus the marketing that you put behind it? Or do you think it's 50-50? If you only had so much in budget, let's say, how much are we looking at product and how much do we need to look at going to market, et cetera, building a community and all of that?
Actually, from our perspective, like we do in O Games, it's to build a product first. Of course, in Web3, you cannot take anything for granted, right? So even if you have a clear idea from the beginning about what you're going to do in the process of development and creating the product, you will face a lot of challenge and a lot of new opportunities. So I will prefer to create the product first rather than promise something that maybe all the expectations are not met at the end, right? Mm-hmm. So also it's answer for the last question about the importance of creating a business is also the flexibility in Web3 that you need to have. Things change so quickly, and maybe what you were doing 1 year ago, now it's out of date, and you need to create something new because there's so many new products out there that you need to really stand out. So you cannot forget marketing as well. So you can need to maybe 50-50, depend on the part of the development of the product you are. But of course, it's really, really important to stand out.
I think it's beautiful because what is so different about doing marketing in Web3 as opposed to Web2 is there is so much codependency between marketing and product. You have to reinvent each other all the time because the product is not there yet. You're doing marketing about an ideated product in the future, and that product can still be created with us. So I think also knowing that as a marketeer, that is a role you have to take on and take the responsibility to also influence and advise the product team is just very important.
To do a lot of research the whole time to see if what you are doing it's actually a good solver, some problem out there. So yeah, you're totally true. It has to be a complementary thing.
Yeah.
I think what about working with Raquel, what your company is doing brilliantly is that you have an MVP, which you definitely need to have before you go to market, but then you're so receptive to feedback and you're running all these like 1 week long tests, and then you're seeing what the community say, what the users are saying, how can you really improve it, and then you're very flexible in terms of building the product. So I think that's definitely a way to, especially in Web3, to build the product and the marketing at the same time.
Great. Firdaus?
So I go with another approach, and specifically we at Drive, we follow this approach that what we are building is something that is the need of the hour, people need it, and eventually people will find it for the reason why the product exists, and that's how we got all the recognition that we have in this space. Because we are not just a Web3 product, and we don't have to just publicize ourselves among the crypto users or just people who understand blockchain and crypto. I guess a lot of time in this industry, people try to market something even before the product exists or it's out there, is because you're trying to capture the attention of a very small number of people that exist that's going to use the product. It's very important that what you're building is something that people are going to use it, and that's when you can spend more time in building it and telling people the USP of it and why they should use it, because if it's only going to go by hype of marketing it, it will dilute in some time, because a lot of people are trying to capture the same space at the same time. So your product should be very different to be out there, and then you market it, it makes all the sense.
Yeah. Right now we're in a bear market, so a lot of people are taking this moment to kind of figure out how to manage, and if they continue to build, if they continue to spend, how they move forward. How do you think that being in a bear market is impacting strategy and kind of a school of thought for Web3 right now?
I honestly think it's for the better, because all the individuals who are just there for the hype or a quick win, they have been filtered out. And only the people who really believe in technology are still there. And the people who are going very much in depth of what the technology can bring to the future will stay, and they will benefit most from the people who will only come for the hype later on. Mm-hmm. Not to say it's easy.
This is also the time to build, people who are going to build real product, and we will also take away a lot of people who are just in for money. So this is the best time. They always say bear market is the time we're going to see more builders coming in, and you'll see new innovative products coming in. So I guess bear markets are always good to see new innovative product coming out.
I really agree with Gigi on, I think in the long term, this is actually going to benefit the industry, because you're going to need much stronger businesses and projects. You need stronger UVPs. You need actual utilities. So, gone are the days when people will just buy a profile pic NFT. It needs a real utility behind it. I think a really good example that I heard about the other day is how NFTs are now being used for photos that are taken in the war in Ukraine, so that then Russia can't actually Photoshop them and make it look like there's no war there. So all these real-world utilities that are actually helping the community, that's what's really going to help the world.
Absolutely. Do you think that one vertical is going to sustain better than another? Gaming, NFTs, et cetera? Do you think there's one piece that's going to outstand this bear market?
I think that every market has a main, let's say, activator or component that's really driving another bull market. And the next one is for sure going to be gaming. Gamers are well versed in technology. They are so quick with everything that's new, and that's the main bottleneck for others because something new is always challenging. And for us as marketeers, that's the challenge, to take the dual parts out, make it seem easy, and give an experience. But gamers don't even need that.
Yeah,
They're hands-on. They're gonna go right in.
actually, I was about to say almost the same, and also that no matter the project or where they came from, but the credibility on the team, on the idea, what they had, because even when you're trying to sell your product, maybe in this bear market it's difficult, but you have the opportunity to take more time to create something. It's not maybe a product, but an idea with a strong base behind that. And of course, you need a team behind it. And also, if you have credibility, if people believe in your project, they will invest in you. Not only investors, but also your community is going to believe in your project and they're going to stay there. No matter if you're an NFT project and gaming, and of course, the utility is really important. Mm-hmm. And in gaming right now, there's a lot of things that we can do in terms of utility.
In terms of when you're talking about the teams, what do you guys think is the most important aspect of the team? Is it the founder? Is it what would you guys say when you're going for funding, when you're looking at building a team in general? What is the most important aspect of a team? Other than marketing, because we're all in marketing.
I have an answer.
I guess, because I now run a huge team. We started with 3 co-founders and have now grown to like 70 plus people in Drive. I guess it's about people carrying the vision of what they want to achieve and what is your big term goal, because that's one gonna drive not just you but the people who work along with you. Do they believe in what you're trying to achieve is very important, because if money is the only motivation to work, it's gonna go away. People will not be that motivated to work towards the vision. So the vision for what you're building things is very important, and to imbibe the same thing that you feel in the people that works with you is very important. And that's what we do at Drive. People believe in the vision of what we are doing, although a lot of time people told us it's way too crazy of an idea to even pursue. But then I believed in that idea. My co-founders believed in it, and that's how we grew and became what we are today.
Mm-hmm.
If I can answer it, I think there's never really a shortage of capital nor IQ. But if I would say EQ, people might be surprised. But I think in a startup, having a founder who is emotionally intelligent is key. That means he can reflect upon, should I be the CEO or should I not be the CEO? Should I just be the creative and the inventor? Mm-hmm. Which ties in for me to invest most upfront in people, and then product, and then process. That's how I would approach it. Yeah.
Leland, you've been part of founding teams, and I know, for example, Decentral Games, their founder is quite young. Do you notice that you've been in the industry for a long time, do you think that has anything impact?
Not really, because ultimately, any good product or projects are built out of a good mix of team members. So having young founders who are very agile, very open-minded, that definitely have an edge. In the sense that if we have a good mix of other team members, people who have probably more experience in certain subject matter expertise, for instance, product development, engineering, or marketing. So that will complement everyone's skill sets. So in the case of Decentral Games, we have built from a team of like 5 to about 7 in the first few months to now almost 50 in 2 years' time. And then it cuts across different expertise from different region, very diverse. And obviously, you need, apart from what you guys have mentioned, organizational structure takes a very important space. As a team grows, yeah, it's very important to have a good structure, a good governance, basically to have an effective team.
I agree with that. I think organization is huge as you scale. If you don't have a good idea of who's doing what, how you're doing it, what the roadmap looks like, chaos can ensue.
Yeah.
So we have 2 months left till the end of the year. And as I said before, we're in a bull market. What do you guys think is going to happen from here to the end of the year? And what does kind of the blockchain crypto space, what do you see happening, I don't know, from here to the end of the year and maybe even next year? Market predictions.
Difficult
Well, I think-
to predict. I think a lot can change, and maybe it can also stay stagnant for the next 2 months. But I think a trend that we will see even more and more is, as I've mentioned, the real utilities, and especially blockchain projects that can offer cost savings for both users, or we can talk about B2B as well, some enterprise solutions, because in the end of the day, what businesses are looking for, and the only reason other than the hype why they would implement blockchain technologies within their business is to reduce costs and improve profitability. So in the B2B space, companies and products that can do that are definitely going to be the winners. But similarly in the B2C as well, we're heading to, or we are in a recession. So I think cost savings is going to be a big one. If you can save people money on gas fees, on transaction fees, removing the intermediaries, all those kind of benefits will have a much stronger focus.
Great. What do you think, Leland? What's going to happen? Your predictions.
Yeah, it's hard to predict, but in terms of the landscape of Web3 startups, I think we will see more and more winners appearing because basically, yeah, they survive through the market, the bear market. And in terms of, I mean, the tokens, the markets, I don't have crystal ball. I think obviously has a lot to do with the macro environment too. The geopolitics that we are in today, and the financial market, the traditional financial market has a lot to do with it as well. Yeah.
I guess in terms of market, I think it's gonna stay the same how it is today. Nothing's much gonna change in like next 2 months. We're gonna still be, predicting and waiting for it not go below 19,000 and, hoping for go above 20. It's gonna be the same status. And we know a lot has contributed to where we stand today, be it, NFT market crashing or the crash of stablecoin. A lot has contributed to it, and it's not going to revive very soon. What I personally hope in the Web3 space to see more of real world products to be built that will be part of day-to-day lives of people, and that's where we're gonna see mass adoption, and that's what I want to see, that people building product that will be used by people for livelihood, day-to-day activity, and that's where we'll see the landscape changing. Unless and until that we don't have real-world utilities, we'll keep struggling with what we have.
Thanks. Gigi, what do you think?
I think first of all, it's interesting to think about the fact that we're marketeers, but I have I watch 2 streams a week from one of the let's say, macro traders are really trust in a way. And macro is still not looking good.
Yeah.
And it really affects our engagement rates. It really affects how we have to communicate or how our growth rates are being projected. I expect a lot of, well, we're actually, from a trading perspective, ranging. I expect this range to continue for a bit. And how is it going to go? We don't know. I think it will take a while before we have a full, proper bull run where everyone is super excited about what we're building.
Okay. Raquel, any thoughts?
No, actually, all has been said. But actually, I think people is waiting for this to change. So I think people is going to be more committed to support Web3 projects. And as Lily said, a lot of women, we were talking about this yesterday, how difficult was to find women in technology, more like not in marketing or in art field, but in technology development, blockchain, and all the kind of more technical jobs. It's really, really difficult. So I think there's a lot of things to do in this next 6 months. And 2 days ago, we were talking, a few people, about the bear market, and everyone's agreed that at least 6 months it's going to be necessary to this change.
Yeah. Speaking about that, so thank you for bringing that up. At Babs Labs, we always say that diversity breeds creativity in the sense that the more diverse your teams are, the more success you have. And that can be in different ways. It could be in religious diversity, gender diversity, whatever you want to think. Do you guys, in your teams and in the projects you've worked in, do you experience that? Do you think that how do we increase diversity? Do you feel that the diversity is an important part of your initiatives? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Actually, in Triple O Games, we are really, really trying to bring more women in. Actually, I'm the only woman now. So it's not hard at all. I mean, my teammates are really, really good. But it's true that our CEO, the CTO, always try to bring more women. But when I expected at least, 5% of women appear when we put on a job offer, but no one shows up. Like, not even a woman, about 200 people, and there were no women there. So I think the only solution I'm finding now is to hire someone that don't know actually anything and educate her inside the team for at least, for example, 6 months, and to build a team of women inside the company from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
I think for mass adoption, it's going to be very important to build products that don't just resonate with a male audience, that resonates with both genders. And it's probably very important to have females in your team so that both genders think differently. It's just a biological fact. So they're going to have a very different input from what a male would have in general. So for mass adoption, I think that will be an important step.
I think that's a really good point. I think that if we are creating things that are supposed to sell to several different audiences, if we don't reflect that in the team, it's impossible that those audiences are going to purchase it. What about, all the people up here today are women, and you're all leaders. Firdosh, do you have a lot of other women on your team, or are you all alone?
For a long time, I was the single woman in my team. But yeah, we have a lot of women that work at Drive now. And I did not do it intentionally that I want half of population to be women. We hire people who are good at their job because I believe what I'm doing, I'm good at it. And my gender cannot define what job I'm going to do. And that's the approach we took at Drive. If you're good at what your skill set is, you're hired. Mm-hmm. I don't look what gender you come from, and that's how we look at it. But most importantly, I always felt women come with a very different perspective when they are part of a meeting. Because women are, as you know, she said, we are very high on EQ. and men were fighting for ages, and they lost that EQ part, and and they even didn't knew what they're fighting for. But women grew with a lot of EQ in themselves, and when we actually look at a problem statement, we do have a very different perspective, which put us in a different position when only there are men discussing a problem and looking for a solution. So it's really good to have women on board to get a different perspective to things, because as you said, at the end of the day, we are building thing which will be used by different population, different genders. So it's very important to have that. But yeah, hire people who are good at their skill set is the most important thing that I look for.
Yeah, I agree. Gigi?
Yeah, I might have a slightly different take on it. Um, because I believe every individual has masculine and feminine traits. And if we balance that out, to me personally, I do love the fact that a team should reflect a very diverse group of people. However, it could also be a team, let's say 80% men and 20% women, that are super diverse because maybe everyone is more balanced within their feminine and masculine energy, which can also create a very balanced team. And there's even, like, for example, the feminine qualities of Steve Jobs, how he would think about what is beauty, how can we make this product so good that it's so convenient. It's actually a feminine trait. So if those are more balanced, I think that would be more important to me in general. But I do care about bringing more diversity into the teams I work with.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, of talk right now about diversity in general, but diversity of thought is just as important. So
Yeah.
people with different backgrounds, different upbringings, different cultures is just as important as gender and everything else. I think that brings a lot of someone that's been raised, that had a ton of money growing up versus someone that had to kind of fight for themselves brings a whole nother perspective to the table, especially when we're talking about startups. So I agree with you that there's a lot of ways to define diversity.
Yeah.
So we have about a minute left. Do any of you ladies want to just give a last thought about Web3 and the importance of kind of the business aspect over being really narrow-minded and just looking at a product, just looking at things as a project, I guess?
I think one thing that we haven't touched on, and it's very important, is that instead of just selling your product when it comes to marketing, you also need to educate your audiences, because Web3, the term, has become such a hype, and a lot of companies that don't even fall into that category use it because simply they are aligned with one principle of Web3 or something like that. So to educate the audiences on what it really is and how the technology is going to change your lives, and it's not just a hype. That is very important. Become a thought leader, not necessarily just sell your product, and just revenue shouldn't be always the main focus. You should also become a thought leader in the technology and the space.
Yeah,
I like that.
think that in Web3 projects, what we should try to do is to bring everybody to this kind of field, because there's a lot of people that know, let's say, much about Web3, and there's this people that don't know anything about it. There's not like a middle stage of people that actually know what metaverse is, what blockchain is, right? So I think it's important for projects to bring all the audience that they can to their own projects, just by educating them, or just, I don't know, some kind of good ideas out there that I've seen actually here at this venue. So I think something that people should take care of, it's to welcome to everybody to this world and to educate them, not only for themselves, but also for the rest of the audience.
Great.
Totally agree.
Thank you, ladies. I think the key takeaway at the end here is that for Web3 to be mass adopted, we really have to educate people and the real takeaways that we can give and change the world with it. So I know we're all committed to that, and look forward to seeing what you guys do in the future. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.